Blake, welcome into episode number 15 of our Exploring the CVerse series here in TEW 2020. We are on to Black Canvas Grappling, BCG, in Japan. And again, appreciate your support of the series. And if you've not already, go back and check out the first 14 episodes that we have here on the channel in our Exploring the CVerse series. Check out everything as well, all the other stuff. We've got WWE, AEW, WCW. Those saves have been a little dormant for a while, but they will be returning soon if they haven't already by the time this video releases. But again, appreciate you guys for the support and feedback. But let's jump into BCG as we head to Japan yet again for the second straight time here in our series. We did PGHW previously. Now we're on to this one, a little different in terms of where the companies stand at the moment. BCG, 13th in the world, but, in small size, but have $325,000. That's a nice chunk of change to work with for a small company. As we said, compared to a company that's kind of in a decline, like PGHW, which I think only had $175,000, something like that, and was ranked as 7th in the world. So 13th in the world, you've got cash to spend here. And so I think that's one of the appealing elements if you want to go this route with BCG. 44% prestige, 60% momentum. And so that is worth noting there as well. Let's go to the size because that is, of course, always important. Have achieved the 35 popularity in the home region, but now to get to medium, you got to get to 59, which you're not that far off at 53 right now. Then in one of these regions, you got to hit 35, so you can kind of see where things stand on that. So that's the road to try to get to medium. Probably will take a little time, just given the roster, especially, as I said, not necessarily to get to 59 here, but to get to 35 in these ones there. So that is the path that you're on. And as for BCG itself, well, how did this upstart promotion come to be? Well, as we see here, Maeda, who was part of Golden Canvas Grappling, which we know no longer exists in the TEW world, was there once they joined the Modern Japan movement, 2011. Maeda quits the company, goes on with Yoshizawa here to start Black Canvas Grappling, to continue on the Roaring Lion tradition, so just kind of the traditional style in Japan. And now you have a company that's really growing because, as we said, GCG no longer exists, but yet BCG does, and now continuing to kind of build on this early success. And as I said, so the narrative you can work with here can be you have a young company, it seems to only be getting stronger, and you have cash to work with, because I do think that's an important part you always have to remember in this game, especially when you're playing in smaller companies. You need some money, and they've got money. Something else that I think that we will go to, and usually we do this later in the episode, but something else in terms of building your own path here. There are no current relationships for BCG. I think one of the few, actually, that we've looked at, and maybe the only company so far that we've looked at in our series that has no relationships currently. None. Not a single one. So you can sort of build your own direction here in terms of how you want to play with this company. And I think that, again, every sort of company has a unique element to it. This is one of those unique ones here. You're in Japan. How do you go about forming those relationships with other companies? Do you go the talent trading route? Do you, alliances, all these other things? You have some options here. So you're not necessarily stuck with anything. Like, you have an open canvas to work with in terms of how you want to go about handling your business and maybe building some of those relationships. So I think that's kind of a unique element only to BCG here with that. All right, to the product. You know what to expect here. Pure old school wrestling, and the core product, wrestling as a sport. So this is legit competition. That's how it's pushed here. 100% matches for your events on TV shows, which you don't have at the moment. 90% matches, 10% angles, so that's the possibility there. Of course, as usual, legitimate sport means intense style, very physical, and it's pretty straightforward as to how this thing goes. So you do have higher risk of injuries. We've said that with a lot of these sort of smaller companies, it seems, because of the high impact moves. No face heel divide, none of that. You don't have a women's division. 20-minute matches, that's kind of your minimum if you're going to hit the world-class scores. It is worth noting here, and this is, of course, not always the case for every company, but if you're looking at your match aims, you've got to have at least Still the Show and at least Technical Master Class. So those two have to be on every single show you produce. So that is worth noting there on that. So you have to keep that in mind as you go about booking BCG here. Let's look at the schedule. And again, you know what's coming. It's the touring schedule. And as I'll reference, I did it previously, but Episodes 8, Episodes 14 in our Exploring the CVerse series. Episode 8 was Burning Hammer of the Wrestling Gods. Episode 14, one we just did previously, was Pride, Glory, Honor Wrestling. Those both had touring schedules. We kind of went over the format in those, and as I continue to say, you'll find great tips and feedback in the comments because, you guys are leaving your comments on whether you've played at these companies, what you find appealing, and if you do kind of run the touring schedule, what's worked for you, what hasn't. Go back to those 2 episodes, see if there are any comments there. I know the Burning Hammer one, I'm kind of recording some of these together, so I can't say I've actually seen any comments on the PGHW one yet because I don't think that's actually been published as I'm recording this. But go back to the Burning Hammer one because I think there were some good comments there on looking at the feedback for how to do a touring schedule and kind of some ideas more so. There's no perfect way to do it, but as I said before, I really like the idea just of, the usual way, multi-man matches, tag team matches, adding in special singles matches here or there to kind of keep the tours fresh a little bit. And we'll talk about titles in a second. There's something you actually add into that with it. What I do like about BCG, the schedule is a little interesting in that you've got some themed events, right? So Tag Mania, well, what could that mean, right? Like you have some interesting things, again, to work with. The Maeda Grand Prix here, the Grand Prix, I think is one that, we'll talk about it in titles in a second. Like it's sort of, that tournament type style. So you have that to build to. You can look at some of the names here. Soul Survivor. We'll talk about that with titles in a second. It's an annual 4-way elimination match. There's a lot of things you can do with this, and you're building towards kind of those theme type shows. And I think that's something you can definitely look at. And something else I like here. So the Lion's Roar is the season finale event. That's in October. So you have the Lion Rises in August, the Lion Hunts in September, and the Lion's Roar in October. So these 3 are all kind of, you're building up to this. So what could you do that's maybe a little different, a little unique with these 3 shows? Because yes, they all start with the Lion, right? And is there something you can tie in kind of building up to this? Is this your Royal Rumble to WrestleMania type event? Of course, I'm not saying you have to do it that way, but this is kind of something where you could maybe, have a little creative fun with some ideas to work with here, building from August to October, knowing this is your season finale event. So I think that's something cool as well you could look at. Let's look at the broadcasting situation. So no TV shows at the moment. If you look at the current setup for events, you've got Shogun TV here, small. You've got the tour highlights on All Japan TV, very small, and so you can tell your coverage pretty small at the moment, but that's not too surprising. I did filter it here by willing to negotiate. It's the 2 we just said. So you've already got those. You don't really have any other options at the moment. So that is kind of where things stand from the broadcasting elements with that. All right, to the titles, which we just talked about. And I'm just going to tell you right now. Now, I don't remember every title we've looked at throughout this series, and we still have a lot of other companies to go. But I'm going to say, without hesitation, the Challenger Series title is going to be top 5 for me in terms of title graphics in TEW 2020. This is just a tremendous championship right here. And it's not even, I guess is it technically a title? It's a Challenger Series. It's more of it's an achievement, right? But this is just tremendous. When you think about just the graphic of the company itself, right? Like you've got, the Lion here and continuing the tradition as we talked about. This is excellent. I don't know how else to say it. So congratulations to Goto right now because he holds one of the most beautiful achievements / titles in the game. So congrats to him. But it is the Challenger Series. Again, it's sort of, we talked about kind of keeping things fresh on the touring schedule. You can use this kind of on touring shows perhaps, sell some extra tickets, so have a little more of a high profile, something at stake here to build up your next contender for the World Championship. So I do like that. I really do. And it's not just because this is a beautiful looking belt here, but that's one of the reasons I like it. Soul Survivor, we talked about, annual 4-way elimination match. And as you can see here, yeah, it's kind of fun and unique because it's the only time you see it, is that, it only happens in June. So that's something that can be kind of a unusual type of match to build to, especially for this promotion. So, got the world title here. We've had short company history, but it's a world title, right? And that's what everyone's aiming for. The world tag team titles. We'll talk about the tag division in a second. And we talked about the Grand Prix, which is a single elimination tournament battled out every April. So there's your tournament tie-in there. You can use it however way you want it. And so, yeah, that's kind of your setup for the championships, which I think there's a lot more variety here than maybe just your usual, world mid-card tag. Like, you've got good variety here based on some tournaments, based on this Sole Survivor elimination match that you're going to have every June. So, yeah, I like that. It keeps things fresh with BCG. All right, some just random stuff here. Backstage, 77. So you've got some negative influences, to say the least. A little bit lower maybe than some of the other ones we've had thus far. Tag team division, we go up and down the line here. We know we like to look at experience. Kind of a mix. You've got, very experienced tag team. You've got some that are on the lower end that you can build up, but, that's something else. That tag teams are important when it comes to touring schedules. So that's always something I would keep in the back of my mind, because you need those multi-man matches. You need tag matches. So always building up the tag team division, I think, are important when you have touring companies, because you can never have too many, in my opinion, when it comes to tag teams, because it keeps things fresh and it keeps your booking fresh in terms of having different matchups to go back and forth with, different pairings. So I think that's something to look at. You do have a training facility, so you've got the Lion Dojo here. 25% currently. Facilities can be upgraded. So, as I said, you've got money to work with, so that's something you could look at. I don't know that would be my first priority, but it is something that you have the ability to do. Of course, no stables, no storylines. You don't have a figurehead. And if we look at the creative, so these are your franchise players. And what I like here is that you see all these guys 28 to 33 in age. And so you don't really have that 35 plus, 40 plus type, presence right here in terms of your franchise players. And this is quite a group of franchise players. We might just look at these four guys individually here in a second, especially Akamoto here. Just a star in every sense of the word. He's pretty incredible. So no next big things as we see it standing here right now. I think that could change depending on your save and who's there. I can't remember exactly what the formula is for that, but hot prospects, usual list, younger, 25-ish, 28-ish, younger type players that you can work with here. Hosaka is only 18, so a dark horse for future success. Yeah, but definitely say dark horse because I don't really see it in the stats just yet, but only 18, so got a long ways to go on that. All right, let's talk about the roster itself. We look at here. Let's look into those top stars, we said, because I think that's what you're kind of building your promotion around. And, in all honesty, if you want to talk about your Sole Survivor match, those four guys that were the franchise players are kind of right there. And, of course, we'll filter it by stars. We got Tori here, star quality, good in-ring work, very popular in the home division, so that's always, or the home location, that's always good. Funakashi here, someone else, got some good in-ring skills, very popular in the home region. That helps. Remember, we're trying to grow the company here, and it's good to have kind of the foundation. So these can kind of be your initial building blocks, if you will, your four pillars, if you want to use the AEW term. If you're a Sawa here, my goodness, like you want to talk about someone who crown jewels. That's a good way to put it. I was looking for the right word, but looking at it going from GCW now, or excuse me, not GCW, GCG to BCG. This is, again, building blocks. You're looking for people to completely build a company around. Here you go. Like, that's all you need to know. And I mentioned Akamoto, 28, best star quality of on the roster, I'm pretty sure. I don't think Furusawa had, but no. So Akamoto has the best star quality, in-ring work, so popularity boosts are going to be no doubt when it comes to him. BCG Hall of Famer in the making. So, as I said, bios can really be important here, and looking at kind of, especially when you have kind of the interesting dynamic you have with GCG now to BCG, some of the guys that jumped over there. And so, yeah, like we said, Funakashi, the rock that the company's built upon, surefire Hall of Famer. So all these things are important. Maeda, as we said, sort of the founding member here. But so these are all things you can build into kind of when you start to book your shows and look to keep things sort of fresh on that. So everything else, I mean, again, a pretty normal roster for a company like this, where you've got a mix of styles, the brawling, impactful, you've got striking, you've got all those things, regular wrestlers. We know it's all about the in-ring quality here, so that's what it's all about, and you compare these guys together and just continue to sort of go through it here. And yeah, that's kind of the foundation of this company. And I mean, look, 19 years old here, Kubo. I mean, hey, a lot of interesting talent to work with on the roster. But like I said, I think your top 4 stars specifically, I think are the most, that's kind of if you're trying to grow the company, you're building around those 4 talents. I think that's pretty clear with this company. Not to say there's others that aren't right next to them or getting close, but I think if you just really have your starting point, to me, it's very clear. This is your starting point. Like, these are the 4 guys. You build everything around, in whatever kind of fashion you want to. I think it's very obvious. This is where I would start. I would say, here we go. We're going with these guys, and let's see what happens. So there's some thoughts on Black Canvas Grappling, which, I think compared to some of the other companies, maybe it's not PGHW. I think that's probably still a more appealing company to me to start with. But like I said, what you have to keep in mind, there's more money to work with. It's just, can you keep your talent? And that's always the question with the small companies. It's just, can you keep your talent? That's what it comes down to, because they're going to have offers elsewhere, and we know how it works, right? It's just these are handshake deals, so you can't guarantee that everyone's going to stay there. And especially, like I said, it's a company that has no relationship, so there's really no reason for anyone else to stay away from your workers, because you don't have an agreement in place to not steal workers or anything like that. So you always have that possibility, that opening, perhaps roster-wise, but you do have money, I think, to refill the roster. But I do like the starting point, and it's really leaning into that narrative of, okay, Golden Canvas Grappling had to go away for Black Canvas Grappling to be able to exist, essentially. And there you go. Now you have an upstart company that's getting stronger with money and a great sort of foundation in terms of the roster to work with. So there you go. There's some thoughts on BCG. And as always, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave your feedback in the comments if you've played as Black Canvas Grappling, or if you have any tips and tricks for this company or any other companies, or with the touring schedule. Those are always helpful, and that's what makes this series, because it allows other players to get some insight, me as well. Like I said, this is a learning experience for me. I'm going through learning about this on the go, just as some of you guys are. So always appreciate the great feedback. But on the next episode of our Exploring the CVerse series, we will, for the first time, head to an all-women's promotion as we look at Queens of American Wrestling.